How do you go about finding land? Like, what is your process for ensuring that
Mhm.
the land is usable for this purpose, especially if you wanted to break it up into multiple?
Yeah. So I think the biggest distinction between what we do and more commonly in the RAL home conversion space is we are not going and finding residential zoned land, right? Residential land is for residences and they usually don't want you to do that, or they usually limit you to 6 or 8 beds or something like that. So it's really just kind of an investigation. I have a process for it, but we start with the market research. We start looking at our competition. What is their license type? What are the zoning types that they are in? Once I identify here are 2 or 3 cities that I want to be in, and I know some zoning types that have already been used, then I go and I find some vacant land that's for sale. And I like 1 acre as a minimum. I'll say 1 to 5 acres, right? And I'll go to these 2 different cities and I'll have 2 different pieces of land that are examples. And I'll say, hey, you know what? Here's what I want to do. This is my vision. I want to build this type of assisted living. How do you consider me? How am I classified? Do you consider me business use, commercial use, residential use? There's kind of a gray area as you get into levels of care, whether you consider group home or as you get into more end of life, you're considered more commercial. And that's depending on each city. So then they'd tell me, hey, you know what? If you want to do what you just described, you are this kind of classification in our rule book, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore you're this type of zoning. And usually for sure it's always commercial. And then my follow-up question is, okay, but what else can I do? Even though if it doesn't fit perfectly in there, what kind of special use permit can I get? Can I take agriculture land, vacant land, and use that to build there? Can it be mixed use? Can it be R4 multifamily? Is there some type of other things? I want to know all of my options. And for me personally, I have gone agricultural land. I bought it was just farmland. It was 8 acres, just right north of the path of progress, like 7 minutes from downtown, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just vacant land. And we're just like, cool. It was no big deal. I was able to talk to them in the zoning department. And they're like, yeah, you can do it here, this and that. And, a lot of the stuff is research regarding utilities, connecting to utilities. A lot of the stuff is fire marshal stuff, permits, drainage and detention ponds and retention ponds. And there's a lot of different stuff on there that you go through. But I like to do it when the pressure's not on, meaning I will find a piece of land that I know I'm not going to buy, but I'm still going to go and I'm going to ask all of my due diligence questions so that when a piece of land does come up, I know I've already asked the questions. This is the exact same zoning type. I can look up the GIS map. I can see where the water lines and the sewer lines and everything are. I know what I can do. And I'm like 90% sure already within about 30 minutes of just sitting in front of my computer looking at this that I can do this deal. And then I'm able to make an offer right away, give myself 30 days for due diligence, go have a pre-application meeting with the city, get everybody, all the decision makers in the same room. I'll spend a little bit of money, do a rough draft site plan, and then say, hey, here's what I want to do. Here's my building. Here's the parking. Here's how we're going to connect to utilities. And everyone just throws in and they start picking apart your plan. And hopefully you come out the end of the meeting, you're like, cool, I can do this. Sometimes you come out the end of the meeting, it's like, I can't. And then you walk on the deal and you find the next opportunity.